Hopefully you remember this. We had the AO rule. If a noun ends in A, then it's most likely a feminine word, right? If it ends in O, most likely a masculine word, and then you should use, well, either the feminine or the masculine article here. So we have la, that's a feminine article, and we have cara, which means face. La cara, the face. And you know that this one ends in A, right? So that's most likely a feminine word. This one, on the other hand, el dedo, that means the finger, ends in O, so you know that it's a masculine word. Now this is quite straightforward. If a noun ends in A, it's going to be feminine. If a noun ends in O, it's going to be masculine. Quite straightforward, quite easy, works 90% of the times. Now, some cases though, and we have one of them here, la mano, that means the hand, that ends in O. As you can see, it uses a feminine article, right? That's an exception. And unfortunately, this kind of exception, you need to know them by heart. It's just what it is. It kind of sucks, but there's not too many of them. So if you apply the AO rule, 90% of the times, you'll be safe. It's safe to assume that if it ends in O, it's going to be masculine. And it's not a big deal if you make a mistake on that. This one is a big deal though, because el idioma, the language, this is a noun that a lot of students get wrong, and it's quite telling. If you use this for wrong, you're gonna look like a foreigner right away, because a lot of Spanish students say la idioma. For example, if you would say I speak Spanish, the Spanish language, then a lot of students say yo hablo la idioma español. That sounds super bad. It's very telling that you're studying and that you really don't speak the language. So try to remember this one well, all right? Even though it ends in A, and it should be a feminine word because of that, that's an exception. It's an important one, you're going to use it a lot while learning Spanish. So try to remember el idioma. It's a similar thing with this one. So you have el agua, that's water, the water. It ends in A, unfortunately it's an exception. All right, so you need to know these ones. As we progress through the course, you're going to see several of these. There's not too many of them, but again, in case of doubt, if it ends in A, it's feminine. If it ends in O, it's masculine. There's other kinds of endings that you should know about, and we're going to see them now. But so far, please keep that in mind, okay? All right, I gave you a couple of sentences here to play with. And I want you to reflect a bit on them and try to figure out where you would use ser and estar. Remember that both of these verbs mean to be. In English we only have one to be, which is very straightforward, very easy, but in Spanish it gets a bit more complicated because, well, ser and estar have slightly different meanings. Now I'll give you a clue here. Estar sounds like state, like Wyoming, the states in the US, right? But also it sounds like state in the sense of condition. For example, the state of the economy is terrible right now, right? Or the state of my motorbike, which is brand new, ready to sell. All right, so state, estar. Try to remember that, that's going to help you a lot. State as in location or condition, all right? While ser tends to be more like intrinsical properties of what you're talking about. So in this case, for example, you have yo en el banco, I am in the bank, or tú profesor, you are a professor. So in this case, where you would use ser or estar? Let's try to figure out and see if you nail it.